Stem cell research is a fairly new science, being first explored in 1988. There has been debate on the morals of stem cell research since the first human experiment in 1998. However, with so many opportunities to better human lives with stem cells, it would seem that doctors and researchers have a moral imperative to go further into stem cell research. Before discussing the debate on stem cell research and its morals, it is important to first understand what stem cells are and how they work. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells. This means that the cells haven't decided what kind of cell they are going to become. This is where scientists can manipulate the cells in labs and grow them to be practically any cell in the body. Stem cells have the capability to become skin cells, tissue cells, nerve cells, bone cells, blood cells, fat cells, liver cells, and more. This quality to stem cells can help patients with many different health issues, such as bone damage, tissue damage, organ damage, and more. The world of medicine is constantly trying to personalize medication for the individual. Stem cell research has opened a very large door to help this become more possible. Stem cell research has the potential for patients to grow their own new body parts designed specifically for their body. This could possibly end the wait list for organ donors or bone replacements. We have already successfully 3D printed different organs for patients. Here you can see a 3D printer using stem cells to print a functioning kidney. You can watch more of this video through TED Talk if you are interested in learning more about it. Stem cells can also have the potential to help cure Alzheimer's, different kinds of arthritises, heart disease, MS, cancer, and more, as well as help us understand these diseases as a whole. By doing more research into stem cells, we could possibly better humans' lives from the earliest stages of their development to the end stages of illness. Stem cells can be collected in 3 different ways. First is the embryonic stem cell. These stem cells are collected from 3 to 5-day-old human embryos and are extracted by taking the stem cells from within the embryo. Second is through non-embryonic stem cells. These stem cells are most commonly extracted from bone marrow and are spun with plasma made from either the donor's or the patient's blood to create the stem cells. And last but not least, the third type of stem cell is the induced stem cell. These stem cells start out as non-embryonic stem cells that are then spun and turned into what resembles embryonic stem cells. While all of the benefits listed previously would make it seem obvious that stem cell research is a must for our future, and many researchers and doctors would agree, there are still counter-arguments as to why stem cell research should not be studied, as it is not moral or ethical. The counter-argument against stem cell research often occurs from the collection of the stem cells, as well as the belief that embryos are living human beings. This argument argues that embryonic stem cells should have human rights, and it is cruel to be killing an embryo for science. This point of view sees the 5-day-old embryo as a living being and does not agree with taking a life for another life. Since a 5-day-old embryo cannot give consent, it shouldn't be touched and it should have the right to live its life. However, with this argument just comes more questions on what is morally ethical. If a 5-day-old embryo should have human rights and be able to give consent, how are abortions legal at 3 months or even late-term abortions? At what stage does a person really become a person? If this argument were true, abortions would be illegal altogether and charges would be made for murder. On an even further note, children wouldn't be allowed to have vaccinations or medications because their parents don't have the authority to make decisions for them. If parents can give consent for their children to get injections or even abortions, parents should be able to donate embryos to science. From 1991 to 2012, over 1.7 million embryos were thrown away from IVF treatments. Instead of throwing away these embryos, the parents should be able to sign a contract saying They want them to be donated to stem cell research after a certain date. Instead of wasting embryos to rot, these embryos could save multiple lives. However, let's say you're still stuck on the embryonic stem cell dilemma. Many people aren't aware of the non-embryonic stem cell methods, which bring no harm to any embryos or possible children. For instance, this is a 19-year-old girl who had leukemia in her hip. Instead of having hip replacement surgery at a young age, which is heavy and uncomfortable, the doctors decided to use stem cell research to help regenerate her bone growth in her hip. They took stem cells from her own bone marrow and spun them to retrieve the cells. Then they infused them with plasma made from her own blood and injected the stem cells into her hip, regenerating the bone loss from her cancer in the treatments. This process didn't endanger any possible life by embryos. That being said, this kind of stem cell research could only do more good for the medical advancements and should be further studied. This is one of the many examples of a non-embryonic stem cell procedure that has helped many patients around the world. Procedures like this one have also been done to help people with arthritis and MS as well. Stem cells also have the ability to create life. With induced stem cells, it is possible that one day the future same-sex couples could create their own biological children. How amazing is that? No one ever said that it is morally or ethically wrong to create life. From all of the information reviewed here, it would seem that doctors and researchers have a moral imperative to pursue stem cell research. The benefits for patients and research far outweigh the negatives. With the possibilities of medical advancements that could help with bone growth, curing cancer, curing Alzheimer's, replacing organs, understanding illnesses, and so much more, it would be morally unethical if doctors and scientists did not pursue stem cell research to better humanity.